So here's how I want to look at the coronavirus, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a biologist. But if you read the news, this is a national security issue, not just for the United States, for everybody, for the Chinese. I saw a news article, they built a hospital in 8 days. Okay. You don't build a hospital in 8 days because you're worried about a health issue. It's a national security issue. Now, why am I hammering on that? That's because if global supply chains get disrupted, for governments, that's going to be a secondary priority. Okay. We can make all the jokes we want about government or presidential candidate. Any textbook will tell you flat out, the primary job of government is to protect the people. Okay. Police, military, ambulance, fire, etc. So everybody thinks that, the governments will have a remedy for this. They'll just print money. Everything looks bad, but it'll be okay. And no. The governments are going to have to protect themselves. They're going to have to protect their people, and economics and stocks and earnings for the first time in God knows how long are secondary. Okay. And when the equity market figures that out, and believe me, people, the equity market takes a really long time to figure things out. Okay. Lehman Brothers went bankrupt in 2007 and the stock market didn't go down for like a week. They waited for options expiration. You can Google it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when the stock market sort of figures all this out, okay, there's going to be a reset there. Now, it could be a little reset, could be a big reset. I know that, crypto guys kind of all like to sit around and say, oh, the stock market, should blow up. Just because we had to live through 2018. So it's like the bitter crypto traders club, whatever. There's going to be a reset in risk assets. Okay. And if Bernie Sanders, takes Super Tuesday and the coronavirus headlines go from zero hedge to the New York Times. Yeah. Like I said, people have to take it seriously. Markets have to start pricing it in.
Yeah. Because from all reports, they still haven't priced it in at all.
At all. No. Of course not. It's just assume the Fed will continue to print money and everything will be fine. And okay, so I don't know whether that's the case or not. I just know that if what's called the news flow, like, if the news is bad every day, okay, then markets will start to react. Okay. If bad news comes out like once a week, then markets get less sensitive to that news. But if there's like bad news like every day, the market will start moving until that news flow ebbs, right? So have we seen the worst of the virus? Have we seen the worst of Bernie? There's 50 states in the US and he just took Nevada, right? So
yeah, I frankly don't really know much about the coronavirus, so I can't even really speculate. All I know is most. So we actually spoke offline about this. Lots of our friends in Asia are going on vacations for like 6 months out of Asia. I have some friends who are now back in America, in California. Some are going to Europe, and just escaping really. And I saw a post from a friend of mine who's in Hong Kong, saying that the number of daily visitors in Hong Kong has gone from, I think, like 100,000 a day to like 20,000 or less. Basically, it's down over 80%. Like, basically, nobody's going to Hong Kong, or for that matter, to China, really. And I think it's pretty phenomenal what's happening. But I don't really know how that's going to affect other parts. Over here in DC, things seem to be fine. But I do know that CNN did put out a video recently showing that there's lots of xenophobia happening in parts of the country, like in Chinatown in New York, and I'm guessing probably even in DC, where traffic is just down. Number of people visiting is down just because it has the word China in it. And I think that the fact that Hong Kong is already in a recession, and if China goes into a recession, that affects the whole world because almost everything is now made in China nowadays.
Right. And on that note, Trump with the trade war gave everybody a warning, accidental warning on how to shift all their supply chain out of China. Right. When this trade war was crazy, if you went into a store, instead of made in China, the shirts would say made in Guatemala. People can switch the supply chain like that, right? Because of the trade war, right? So, I mean, how long does this have to go on? You know, I'm seeing an Instagram post from an ex-colleague who's like, hey, I'm in Costa Rica starting my life over, you know, and I don't think she speaks Spanish. So, you know, people are just getting on a plane, and not only they're not visiting Hong Kong, but people are just saying, okay, well, you know what? It's going to go bartend in Costa Rica. I really don't want to die of the coronavirus. So that's it. So when you start seeing these things, you know, they're funny. Like Bernie was funny. Bernie was pretty funny in, you know, January. It's not funny anymore.
Right, right. Yeah. So actually, speaking of that, there was a report this week saying that Apple's forecasts are already down because they've been impacted by the coronavirus. So in a way, it is kind of starting to affect some stocks. So if I put
right, they're all doing pre-announcements, right, and this speaks to like negative news flow, right? Everybody wants to like lower the bar as fast as they can.
Yeah, so it's happening for Apple. Then here's a report from CNBC, Nike as well. Shares of Nike are down more than 4% over the last month, even though analysts still say they're buys, but it is starting to hit lots of companies that have huge, I guess, distribution places in China. All right. Any last words on that, Bill, before we wrap up?
No, you know, I just, you know, I think we crypto people, we all know what we think of the stock market. It's just a question of, you know, when.
All right. Well said. Well said.